Here we go. Hi, I'm Dr. Mark Waller. Welcome to the Mastering Thought live stream. Thursday evening at 6:15. This is Vanessa
No.
Moreno,
What
who is
happened?
the manager of our online community Thought Masters. Good evening, Vanessa. Can you hear me?
Oh my goodness. What happened?
Give us just a minute while Vanessa reconnects. Whatever's going on. Oh, here she is. She's back again. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that was so weird. It just stopped and I couldn't hear anything anymore.
Well, welcome to the internet.
Hi.
So, so tonight I'm trying to remember what the title was, but 2 weeks ago we had a wonderful question. Somebody asked, "How do you work on yourself if you're single?" And so I'm going to let you take it from there and ask the question. What? Because you got really excited about that, and I was
Yeah.
interested to hear what you said.
So obviously the question came in from one of our viewers, but it's a question that I believe a lot of us have. Um, Not really when we're single and we've never had a relationship. I think once we've had a couple relationships and we're single again, that question comes up of, okay, how can I work on myself? These relationships just aren't cutting it. I can't do this anymore. I keep attracting the same person. Um, and there's a lot that we can do in our singleness. And I mean, I'm single and it's definitely a tough journey. There's a lot of healing that takes place. There's a lot of advice that's given every which way. You're just bombarded constantly by social media or um, different resources that are just telling you all these things that you need to do. And sometimes they just don't feel helpful because you're just reminded of, well, I'm not there yet. And so I guess our common question, I guess a common question for so many of us is, where do I even begin with approaching um, my singleness through a healing journey lens?
Okay, so there was a lot there. So ask the most basic question you can ask.
Well, I am chaotic, so that was a chaotic. I'm sorry. Um, where can a single individual begin in their healing journey?
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you a basic question. Help me understand, what is the healing journey?
The healing journey, so healing from unconscious slash toxic slash childhood patterns that
Okay,
we are just not aware of.
okay,
Um, so healing in the sense of healing from our childhood wounds,
uh huh,
healing from trauma, healing from everything that's ever happened to us.
okay. And so why would that be of a specific concern to somebody who is not in a relationship as opposed to somebody who was?
Because that person was able to see, I guess, the mirror reflected back at them once at one point
Ah,
when they were in a
okay,
relationship. And now that they're alone, it's okay, what are the things that I need to work on so that I don't keep attracting that same person? Or
oh, okay,
what are the things so I can have a healthier relationship and not feel so bad about myself when I'm in that relationship?
okay. So you raise a really very smart point, and I really like the way you articulated that. So the 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 benefit of being in a relationship is exactly what you said. It's a mirror for your personal issues.
Yeah,
So everything that person is doing that you don't like is really telling you what it is about yourself that's not healed or that has not been revealed.
correct.
But um, the journey ultimately is an individual journey. The difference is in a relationship, there's more signal and less noise, and when you're single, there's maybe less of a signal.
Mm.
So we have to fine tune this a little bit to give people some tools here. But
Okay.
but let's back up a second and just ask the question: why do we have issues that need healing? Where do they actually come from? And so something I do all the time is talk about the limbic system, but I have a different way of showing it tonight.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, so it's the little kid inside our brain.
I love that. He's frazzled, poor thing.
So,
That's
so the emotional brain is called the limbic system, and the limbic system is the part of the brain where we have fight or flight, anger, fear, and it is the emotional brain. But importantly, it is all about survival because it's the part of the brain we share with other animals because we're animals. And so the imperative of the limbic system is survival. So the wounds we carry with us that need to be healed come from early childhood experiences of all kinds, mainly with caregivers, that leave indelible impressions on us that create. My phone's ringing. I hope you don't hear that. I'm going to turn it off. That hopefully, here we go. So they leave patterns that repeat themselves in our later lives.
Mhm.
But even if you're not in a relationship, the patterns repeat themselves.
Yeah.
But the thing that's important about this, I'm going to bring our little friend back up on the screen, is this limbic system, which is basically the little child brain, the child within, if you've ever heard of that, talks to us all the time.
Yeah.
So the amount of talk that we all experience is the same no matter whether we're single or not.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so our personal issues that are unhealed are literally speaking to us all the time. Okay, now why is that a problem? It's a problem because we believe that voice is who we are.
Yes.
And so the number one thing everybody has to do, whether they're single or in a relationship, is to disidentify from the voice in their heads. Because the narrator, when it's emotional, is that child inside.
Yeah.
And if you don't know that, and if you identify with that narration, then you're doomed to repeat those patterns that you learned as a child.
Yeah.
So how am I on track so far?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so does that raise a question? And oh, by the way, if you're listening to this, we want you involved in the conversation. So please put a comment in. It'll pop up on our screen, and we'll address whatever's on your mind, even if it's off the topic. That's okay. So far in our discussion, what has come up that's new and fresh on the topic?
Not necessarily new and fresh, just because this is something that I explore practically every day.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Because I'm always constantly looking for resources every single day. But I love that you mentioned it doesn't matter if you're single or if you're in a relationship, you must disidentify with the voice that's in your head because that voice, that limbic system, it's going to get triggered regardless.
That's right.
And I mean, yeah, definitely in a relationship, but even when you're single and you're if you're in various relationships, whether it's with your parent or your teacher or somebody, and they're inevitably going to trigger you. So, are you going to allow that limbic system to just shoot up and you go crazy, or are we going to realize, wait, that's actually not me talking?
Right.
That's what is that? So it's very
Hmm.
crucial that we begin to. That's like the first step, I would say, is
For
just
everybody.
disidentifying completely.
Right.
So
So how do you disidentify from the voice in your head? We have an amazingly simple little exercise here at Mastering Thought where you just witness the voice and watch it go away. And every time you notice the voice, it goes away, and you become the observer instead of the thinker.
Hmm.
And eventually, that separation between observing and the voice in your head becomes permanent, and it produces an awakening experience. So
Yeah.
now I've been thinking about this all day long, and really, why do we need healing? Well, we need healing because we have a survival mechanism that takes over our lives, and we run our lives on autopilot. Otherwise, we would be completely almost spiritual beings almost 100% of the time.
Yeah.
But the reason why we're not spiritual beings is, we're here in this, manifestation, whatever the heck it is, that that we need to survive. And so um, all the survival struggles infect everything we do for the rest of our lives. And the mechanism that the brain uses to help us survive is this internal dialogue. And
Yeah.
so the internal dialogue itself is the mechanism that keeps us trapped on autopilot, looking at the world the same way that child learned how to look at it. Of course, we don't know that.
Yeah.
You know, our perception is being hijacked almost on a moment by moment basis. But we don't experience that as hijacking. We think we're looking at reality,
Yeah.
and we're not
That's it.
looking at reality. We're listening to a narration of reality that we think is the true, reality.
And it just makes sense why there's so many individuals and relationships that are still constantly on survival mode. There's never
Yeah.
this moment of let's just enjoy each other. It's why did you say it that way? Why did you
Mm.
look at her that way? Why did you do? Why did you? Why? It's like it's a constant. I need, and I mean it also goes back to the lion and unicorn model too. I mean, there's that constant need for approval from a lion,
Uh-huh.
or that anxiety that comes from a unicorn, and there's never this consensus of let's just be with each other because we don't know how. And
That,
I'm not blaming
that's
anybody.
right.
We just this is not something we're taught. I mean, look at if we look at our parents and we look at the generation before that and before that. I mean, this is abnormal and this is taboo for so many. I mean, it's just about you get with somebody, that's that. Like they do things for you, and there's no sense of like let's be present, let's help each other grow. You're the mirror that I of things that I need to work on. Like that's
Right.
not something that's really been talked about. So
No.
it makes sense why so many of us struggle when we do get in a relationship because all of our triggers are now just being mirrored on our face, and it's like this is so much. And if you've never been aware of what a healing journey can be like, this is overwhelming. I'm realizing right now like relationships are a lot more work. I mean, they're a lot of work in general, but they're even much more work if you are completely oblivious to any healing that you need to do.
That's right.
That's a lot. That's
Well,
tough.
well, the other thing here is not only is this child brain talking to us, but it thinks that you are the parent or the caregiver where the problem came from originally.
That yeah, forgot about that.
Okay, so now we're talking about relationships, but there is something that you can do if you're not in a relationship because the guiding light to take you to the issue is your emotional reaction.
Mm,
Now, granted, your emotional reactions are not going to be necessarily the same or as intense if you're not in a relationship, but you're still going to have them. For instance, if you're just start dating somebody and you send them a text and they don't respond,
I'm guilty.
you're going to have a reaction. Okay,
Yeah.
well, where does that reaction come from? That reaction comes from the child brain, the limbic system, the emotional brain. Okay, and so what's happening then is when you don't get a response to a text, something is triggered. And what's triggered is some version of fight or flight. And you think you're being rejected or you're afraid you're going to be abandoned or whatever. Okay, so if you can train yourself to realize that emotional reaction is an awesome opportunity for you to go back and find out, okay, what is this and where does it come from?
Yes.
Because the emotional reaction is never about the other person. It's always
No.
about you.
They just triggered it. That's it.
That all they did was trigger the
Yeah.
unhealed thing you need to go look at
That they don't even know about.
that they don't even know about. Right. And so
Yeah.
you go, same thing. You go to a grocery store and the checker is rude to you, and so you get angry. Okay, that angry reaction is an invitation for you to go deeper.
Yes. Oh,
And
this
so
is powerful.
all you need to do is, and this is so simple, and I'm going to tell a story about this in a minute. This is so simple. You just ask the question, how does this relate to my childhood?
Childhood.
So the checker was rude and you got angry. How does it relate to my childhood? Another thing you can factor into the question is what is my perception of what that person did to me?
Yeah.
Because see, if the checker was rude to me and the checker was rude to you, and we both got angry, we would still have different interpretations.
Yeah.
And that difference is the landscape, the emotional landscape we're carrying with us inside. And so you just ask the question, okay, I need to see what this is related to from my childhood because why is it our childhood? Because this emotional brain right here is completely wired up by the time we're about 5 or 6 years of age. So it's looking at life through the lens of a 5-year-old.
Oh.
So when that checker was rude to you, then you become a 5-year-old who is under attack, and it's the perception of that little boy or little girl that is the trigger. So kind of let me summarize where we're going here. So it's really a two-step process. The first process is to free your mind from the identification with the voice in your head. That produces a massive awakening.
Yeah.
And what that does is that puts you outside of yourself so you can see these things very easily and very clearly. And then the second step is to use your emotional reactions as your advantage to go see what got triggered and ask the question, what was this trigger? Where did it come from in my childhood and what is it related to?
Yes.
Okay?
I'm tracking. And I'm so grateful that you said to watch the emotional reactions because Mark, let me tell you, I have been having plenty of them this past week. And my I have been triggered
Uh-huh.
every single time, like, every day. So I'll give a personal example. Um, I was texting this guy that I had met, and I noticed myself getting triggered because here I was sending a few audio messages, and they never responded to what I had talked about. So I thought, okay. Um, and then he would bring up a complete different subject, and I'm
Oh,
thinking, okay, that's weird. And then, but not like in a rude way at all. And so
right.
then I would send something else. I was like, hey, did you have any thoughts about that? And then that wasn't even responded to. And I'm like, okay. And I've noticed that this was a pattern at this point, and I'm like, okay, why am I getting so angry and so triggered of like, why didn't you respond to every little thing that I said?
Right.
And I had to really stop and analyze the situation. Well, not analyze so much, but just acknowledge, okay, I'm feeling, what are my feelings right now? I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling misheard. I'm feeling ignored. How does this relate to my childhood patterns? Oh, there were times that I got the silent treatment.
Mm-hmm.
There was times that I had so much to share, and one of my parents just did not acknowledge what was being said. And it
Right.
was like, oh, okay. So as a child, I've developed the notion of if they don't respond to me or if they don't have a facial reaction to what I just said, what I just
Mm-hmm.
said was not important, I'm not cared about, I will just
Right.
go somewhere and hide. And so now as an adult, I'm realizing, wow, your baby girl is still coming out.
That's
And
right.
I couldn't help but feel so helpless in that moment, like a 5-year old, because I
Uh-huh.
thought, well, is there something wrong with me? Am I just not being clear? Am I just annoying? Am I? And then the thoughts just kept going on and on and on until I reached a point of, that's okay. Like, why are you so stressed about them not responding? Like, he's not being mean. He's actually trying to communicate with you when he can. When he can, if he completely blocked you, well, then that's another story, and that's okay too,
Mhm.
because that's on him. But it was just a powerful, like you mentioning that, of acknowledge where those emotional reactions, why are they even being triggered in the first place from your childhood. Yeah, that's a great place to start, because there's going to be encounters with the checkers or somebody at the bank or somebody on the road.
Right.
Where are these emotional reactions coming from? And once we can at least do our best to pinpoint where we were at the time when a certain occurrence occurred, or when a certain occurrence happened, and we can pinpoint why it is that we feel the way we do and we act, and why we react the way we do. Powerful. Like, now it's
Uh-huh.
okay. If this trigger comes up again, I'm going to have that same thought process, and I'm going to recognize, whoa, 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 your lion's coming out. And that's what I had to keep telling myself. Like, your lion's coming out. You just want approval so bad. This
Right.
doesn't matter. It's okay. Move on.
Hmm. That's
Yeah.
right. So that's that. Now remember that, um, yeah, and this is a hard concept, but our emotional reactions come from the child brain, and the child is not responding to what's happening in the moment. It's responding to what it thinks happened back then. See that the limbic system, the emotional brain, is stuck in time and is still a child.
Mm,
It doesn't
makes sense.
know that the checker's the checker, it thinks the checker is mom or dad or whoever. So it doesn't know that you're even a grown up in an adult world. It still thinks it's back there, in the mobile home park, where, you know, mom didn't pay any attention to me or whatever. And so it's hard to get the idea across to people that this is actually wired into their brains to be like this. But once you wrap your head around the fact that your emotional reactivity is coming from a primitive part of the brain that's still a child, all of this starts to make sense.
Yeah,
It all completely makes sense. And
it
now,
does.
I know what the point I was going to make is, what you just said was so important, because when you're aware, every time you process these reactions, you are wiring in awareness into the reaction. So
Uh,
you're literally, so the reaction is like it's like ruts in a road. And when a road develops ruts, then it doesn't matter how hard you try, you have to drive in the ruts.
yeah.
But when you attach another experience to the driving experience, what you're doing is you're plowing those ruts and you're eliminating some of the edges and so forth. And so that's how the brain works. So the brain has these ruts, and then when you bring awareness into the pattern, it tends to, kind of plow the road. And so every time you have that experience of, say, being rejected, the awareness of where it came from is wired into that experience now.
Yes.
And so the more you do this, the more you train yourself to be aware during these experiences, the easier it becomes, because the awareness is now wired into the emotional reaction. Am I making
Absolutely.
sense there?
You are. And I think it's even more powerful. I want to take that another step too, Mark, and even mention that awareness, also including the lion and the unicorn model,
Uh-huh.
is another game changer,
Right.
because we have that awareness of, okay, this comes from my childhood. Okay, and you start to piece together, this is why I'm a lion. This is
Right.
why I'm a unicorn. Look at how you keep avoiding this conflict because your daddy's tore up all the time, or look at how you just want, you fear that rejection because your mom rejected you all the time. It's just, it's a constant reassurance of, wow, I can see why I'm a lion now. I can see why I'm a unicorn. I can see why I approach relationship, well, romantic relationships the way I do, because it's rooted in this. And so I just
Right.
wanted to take that another step.
No, that's so the beauty of the lion and the unicorn. And by the way, if you're listening, if you have a question, you know, give us a thumbs up and subscribe. But please write it in the comments, and we'll respond to it. We're going to go until about 7 o'clock. And by the way, I apologize. For some reason, the live stream got posted to begin at 9, and I did not do that. I specifically made sure I had the time right when I posted. I don't know what happened. Anyway, what the lion and unicorn does is it gives you a roadmap to understand what you're looking for. So if you know about the lion and the unicorn, you know lions want approval. Okay, so when you ask the question, how does this relate to my childhood? Approval is part of the equation, and you know that, so you're looking for, okay, where's the lack of approval? Where did that come from? If you're a unicorn, you know it's about fear of conflict and pressure and control. And
Yeah.
so you can ask the question through that lens and you know what to look for then. It
Yes.
becomes much easier to find out what's going on.
Absolutely. And apart from that, I have another quick example I'd like to share.
Sure.
So, in being able to recognize our emotional reactions with the people that we come across, I would also highly encourage and urge those that are single, like myself, to examine what interactions look like with their best friend. And I
Okay.
say that because my best friend, my cousin, we spend a lot of time together, and she is practically my sister in all sense of the word. And there are times we trigger each other to no end.
Sure.
And it's wonderful because we are mature enough to be able to discuss when things arise.
Right.
And so the other day we were having a powerful conversation where we were just sharing some things that had triggered each other, how resentment was developing, and I acknowledged how and there was even a moment where I was sharing a story with her. Um, she had mentioned something to me that happened right then in that moment that she had to share right then and there. And then she never went back to my story. And I thought, okay, this is a big trigger for me because this has happened to me a lot in my life. I
Mm-hmm.
am going to process this, and I'm going to process the resentment that is beginning to build in
Okay.
this moment. And so I did. And so she started talking about something else. And then she's like, hey, what are you doing? And that was like about a good 30 seconds. And in those 30 seconds, turmoil. I thought, okay, calm down. But if I really think about it, I feel rejected, I feel hurt, I feel annoyed. Why isn't she listening to me? Why does she have to mention that thing that happened right now? I know that I do that because I have ADHD, but come on, like I'm talking right now, like aren't I important? And then it just went on this whole rampage of she doesn't care what you have to say. You probably bored her. She probably is so tired of you, and every time she calls you, she just dreads the fact that you're going to go into these loops again. And I did all of that for 30 seconds. And so when she was like, hey, what are you doing? I said, I mean, I'm still driving. Um, can I finish my story? And she was like, oh my goodness, I am so sorry. That was not my intention. I said, that's okay. Just know that in that moment, I was doing my best to process the rejection, to process the hurt. My line was coming out. I was upset at you. I felt like you just were rejecting me. I didn't want to talk to you anymore. But I was able to process that while you were talking and realize that's not what's happening. You just wanted to share that thing that happened because if you didn't share it, you were going to either forget and it just wasn't going to be relevant anymore. And I understand because I've done that too to you. But
Uh-huh.
my lion came out. But now I'm realizing, wow, when triggers are happening now, and this has happened this week, when triggers happen now, I have just been going to a place of, okay, wait, what does it say about your childhood? Like, just stop in the moment. What does this say about your childhood?
Right.
And like you said, more often than not, I mean, not even more often than not, what was said, whatever that person did, they just triggered it. They have no idea what your inner turmoil is. And I think a lot of times
Right.
we forget. that people aren't trying to trigger us. Yes, there's some mean people out there that want to trigger us, and if they can get us upset every single day of their
Yeah.
lives, they'd be happy, and that's a different point. But 9 times out of 10, people aren't trying to trigger you. Like, I'm gonna say this one thing because Vanessa's childhood was
Right.
so messed up, and I just
It's
want her
not
to yell at
personal.
me. Yeah, it's
It's not
not
personal.
personal.
No.
So we also have to recognize that too when we go out in the
So
world.
so that's a perfect bridge to go back to your texting with this uh, man you were texting with.
Mhm.
So if he wasn't trying to reject you by not responding directly to your content, what was he actually doing? If it wasn't personal, what was he actually doing? Now you look at it through the lion unicorn model.
Oh, to the model avoiding.
Yeah, why was he avoiding?
He's a unicorn, and I found someone that's a mirror to me. Oh no!
So why would he not respond to the actual content of your text messages?
I was gonna say because I'm intense, but that's not a part of the
Well,
model.
okay, but if you're intense, that let's throw that into the equation. So you're intense. Does that help explain why he's not responding directly?
Yeah,
What do you see?
I'm trying to remember the model. So it's for us as lions, it's anger,
For unicorns, it's avoidance.
avoidance, and then they have
What's the
anxiety.
There you go. You just
So my
you just you just answered it.
oh, but I guess I was confused because I wasn't angry. I just was getting excited about things and I was asking questions.
Doesn't matter. You're intense. You're
Yeah,
excited.
yeah, that's exactly what
See,
it is.
he's responding to emotional energy by doing what? And feel what is he feeling and what is he doing as a result?
He's anxious, so he's gonna avoid me, and then it goes back to me feeling rejected, and then I'm
Well,
angry again.
but he wasn't avoiding you, he was avoiding the topic.
The topic.
Why was he avoiding the topic?
Mm, because I, uh, because of my intensity.
No,
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 topic,
no.
topic.
He's not avoiding, he was avoiding the topic because of his assumptions. Because what the little boy inside of him was telling him, what was he trying to avoid? Unicorns are always trying to avoid conflict.
Oh, conflict. Yes.
Why would he see that? Why would he see this as conflict?
Why would he see this as conflict? Because the spotlight's on him.
Well, because if he answered it, it could lead to an argument.
Oh, that's sad. Oh, yeah.
He wanted to respond to you, but he didn't want to engage that topic. But why? Now, did that mean he necessarily disagreed with what you were saying? No. But unicorns know that if they engage at all, it can lead to an argument.
Wow. And then
Now,
what does that say about his childhood?
well,
Ugh.
so the point is once you get your side of it handled, it's actually pretty easy to see what's going on with the other person. Now we don't actually know. I'm taking some license here. I don't even know what the
Yeah.
topics were, but if your text, had something highly controversial or very opinionated, that would make him feel unsafe, and he would respond, but he would misdirect the response away from the topic so he could avoid getting in trouble and having a conflict.
And I guess that's where I was left confused because it wasn't anything, the topics were not intense. I know I have intense energy,
Right.
especially because it was a mixture of audios and like videos of me like
Uh-huh.
talking. I know I'm very animated and I can be scary. I get that. But
There you go.
I just oh that makes sense.
So
Okay.
now, is this actually what happened? I don't know. But
Yeah.
it's potentially what happened. And it's also an exciting example because it's gives you the opportunity to see what the awareness of all this can give you going into something. You could look at that text and say, "Oh, I see what he's doing."
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he's doing anything wrong, but you can see, okay, this is protection. He's trying to avoid a
Oh,
conflict. What's going on here? And all of a sudden, there it is. You can see what's happening. You
yeah.
can see what you're doing. You see what he's doing, and it just solves the
Amazing.
mystery in an instant.
It does. Oh man. And you see, and I was trying to decide the other day, like, okay, what is he? Is he a unicorn? Is he a lion? I don't know yet. And so I'm happy you brought that to my attention because it's once again when you said, sorry, but more often than not, lions are going to choose unicorns, unicorns are going to choose lions. It's
Uh
just
huh.
it happens where there's a
Right.
mirror. We're holding up a mirror to each other.
Right.
And you know you're right. You see you're right because the first thing that attracted me to this person was like, oh, they're very gentle. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're soft and I'm very aggressive. Like, oh, come here. Hi. Just so
Right.
intense.
And so that's not bad, but
Yeah.
it's only bad if the relationship stays unconscious and it becomes the theater for everybody's unmet needs and issues.
Wow.
And so now this raises another interesting point about being single and working on yourself. You're single and you're working on all this stuff and you can start to see it. It
Yeah,
puts you in a much more powerful position.
it does.
I mean, you can see the red flags coming at you like, soldiers on a field.
Yeah.
And now, does that mean you need to opt out? No, it doesn't mean that at all. What it means is you have a way of communicating very clearly what's okay and what's not okay up front.
Yes.
And you don't let your need for approval set aside your need to be clear about what you really want in the relationship.
Oh, can you repeat that last part again? I like how you
You
said
you
that.
you don't let your need for approval override what you really want emotionally in a relationship, because what will happen is you will accept unacceptable behavior because you want approval more than you want
Yeah.
a healthy relationship.
Oh, I love that you said that, Mark. Thank you. And I
And
will say, past Vanessa would have been very like, no, I need to keep chasing now. And then the chase
it,
starts.
exactly.
And it's like, no.
So what you can do instead is you can see, okay, I can see the game plan starting to form here. I'm going to interrupt it, and you do that early enough in a relationship, you lay a new foundation
Yeah.
that's a more healthy foundation. Doesn't mean you walk away from the relationship necessarily, but you just say, okay, I can see what's happening. Here are the ground rules. This is what is works for me and what doesn't work for me.
Hmm. I love that.
And so you don't, because right away this stuff starts happening because the
It
monkey
does.
brain wants to take over right away.
It does. Yeah. And imagine, Mark. I mean, and imagine if this was an unconscious thing. I wouldn't have mentioned this to you today because it would have been like, oh, that's normal.
Uh-huh.
And like once again, that just shows the crucial nature. Everybody like there's so much to learn when you're in your singleness. I feel like so many of us think, oh, this is a curse. It's not. It's literally the biggest blessing. Like you
Well,
get this opportunity to,
what you're doing is you're avoiding making a 20-year mistake
yeah, or 70 years
or
mistake, as I
whatever.
some people.
We're running out of time here. We've got about 5 minutes. If anybody has a comment or a question, now's the time because we don't want to leave you out of this. Now, the other thing, I've taken a bit of license. You gave me almost no information about your texting, but based on what you said, I could see the pattern right away. Okay, so what I'm saying to you is this is not tough stuff. Once you understand how this works, you will find people are revealing themselves instantly all the time.
Yeah.
And last week, when you were not here, we had a wonderful presentation on communication. And if you
Yes.
missed that, you need to go back and look at it because it was amazing because lions and unicorns basically use different words.
Yes.
They don't use the same words.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of one thing before, I need to say before we leave. I will not be here next week.
Okay.
So we're going to skip next week and go to the following week.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So I
That's
don't
good.
see any questions. Do you have anything in closing, Vanessa?
I just really wanted to highlight what you said, Mark, about acknowledging our emotional reactions, because reactions will always point to what it is that we need to respond to.
Yeah.
Um, so that's just the main point. I think it's funny because I've been doing of my own healing journey, and I've been doing some work about um, just understanding unconscious patterns that develop from our childhood.
Uh-huh.
And it's become a topic that's so innate for me now of, oh yeah, I know that if I'm looking at this one person that I think could be my potential love of my life, there's something in my childhood that's maybe drawing me to them. I acknowledge that, but I
Yes.
know there's so many of us that just are like, oh my gosh, I'm in love, like she does these things for me, and she's so
Right.
wonderful, she's so this. And even then it's like, okay, so what does that share about your childhood? Like,
Yeah.
have you examined that at all? It's like,
No,
no.
but yeah. Right.
Oh, what
Exactly.
do you mean you haven't examined these things? And I mean, I can't help but question the heck out of a lot of couples getting together. Like, what are you doing? You
Yeah.
guys are. This isn't gonna work. This is
Well, there.
incompatible. I'm sorry,
Well,
but
well, I think we're attracting the person we need in our lives, so we'll wake up.
yeah.
So
Yeah, and I think it's even, but it's so sad though when I see
yeah,
that taking place, but then I see, wait, like one of you is pretty conscious and the other one isn't. You can't fix them. Remember that. And there's so many other
yeah,
different scenarios that we can discuss. I know we're out of time, but yeah, just really examining those emotional reactions, and also see if there's that person in your life. Like I have my cousin who really is a sister to me, who shows the mirror all the time because she's a unicorn,
hmm,
major unicorn, the biggest unicorn as they come. And so it's examine those relationships that you already have in your life that might be revealing some things to you, and those triggers. So,
something
and
about
also,
yourself.
yeah, and also remember, reminding ourselves that people do not want to intentionally trigger you. If
That's
that
correct.
clerk was mad at you, they probably received the worst news of their life, and they just took it out on the wrong person, or they don't even recognize their face. So, nothing's personal.
All right, I'm glad you guys came along with us on the ride. We'll be here in 2 weeks to do it all over again. And
Yay.
no matter what the post says, it starts at 6:15. I'm gonna have to find out what I did. All right,
That's okay.
Vanessa, thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mark. Have a great
All
day,
right,
everybody.
bye bye.
Bye.